Good morning and welcome to the 29th Annual Brown Cup here on the Gorge Waterway in Victoria. My name's Hilary Jansons and I'm a UBC alumna and two-time Olympian, and this is my co-host.
Hi, my name's Terry Paul. I'm Rowing BC's Director of Performance and a long-time interested observer of rowing, and been to a few Olympics myself. And we're here today to sort of bring you the play-by-play and some of the color around this great, exciting head-to-head race here on the Gorge Waterway.
Yeah, so we're excited to watch both the Junior Varsity and Varsity 8s from UBC and UVic race each other down the 3.2 kilometer course. It's sure to be exciting, under the bridges, lots of fans. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, and the unique event here, it's not 6-lane 2,000 meter racing, it's side-by-side, head-to-head dual racing. We have the Esquimalt station and the Victoria station. There's been a coin toss, and each race, both men and women, reserve and varsity crews have determined what side of the course they'll be on, and generally pretty exciting, tight racing that we're looking forward to seeing.
Okay.
2, 1, July.
Looks like we're off the start here, Hillary. We're 17 seconds into the first race here, the reserve men's 8 race. We've got UVic on the Esquimalt side and UBC men on the Victoria station.
Yeah, I'll just start off by running through the roster we have. In the UBC men's crew, we have Cox Claire Cunningham, stroke Adrian Breen, 7-seat Alec Doward, 6 is Sam Harris, 5 is Owen Bartel, 4 is Emerson Crick, 3 is Michael Clausen, 2 is Grayson Laycock, and bow seat is Ellington Peacock.
All right, looks like, yeah, we just got to quickly up here. We got Sasha Jansen-Ruden as Coxswain with the UVic men. Sammy Ross is in bow, Matthew Thompson in 2, Alexander Mikas in 3-seat. Hillary, 1 minute in here, what's from an athlete's perspective, what are we feeling here?
1 minute in, racing 8s is all about keeping your head in the boat. So it's pretty exciting off the start. There's a lot of blades. You feel really close to your competitors, especially in a 2-boat race. It's a different psychological race than just a 6-lane kind of deal. So 1 minute in, yeah, you're just kind of settling into that base pace, trying to find some rhythm, listening to your coxswain, and yeah, lengthening out and just kind of settling into that rhythm for the race.
Yeah, so just looking here, looks like on the inside, the Esquimalt side, we've got the UVic men here, and they're stroked by, they're at 36 strokes a minute. It looks like they got about 3/4 of a length lead right now over UBC on the Victoria station. Blade work looks pretty sharp here on the port side sculls, and now we're just sweeping over to the UBC crew here, again on the Victoria station, also at 36 strokes a minute.
Yeah, so the Brown Cup course is interesting because it has a few turns in it, so the start line isn't exactly even because of the turns in the course, so you'll see that as we go around the turns under the bridges, different crews have different advantages. So we'll see how this race plays out, but yeah, it looks like it's pretty tight right now. So
from our vantage point here, yeah, we're
in for an exciting race.
We're in front of the St. Michael's University School boathouse here, who is one of our hosts, and we're just peering through the trestle bridge and seeing the crews approaching us now. And again, as we said, UBC on the inside here. They'll be a little bit on the outside of this turn, coming through the trestle bridge and around in front of the island, in front of the St. Michael's University School rowing center here. Again, just having a quick look at kind of where we are. We're stationed here. This is a tidal waterway. It's the Gorge waterway, which is connected obviously out to the ocean, and we're dealing with a little bit of an outgoing tide currently, but also a pretty strong at this point cross headwind, Hillary.
Mm-hmm. And the crews are just coming up to Trestle Bridge right now, packed with fans. You can hear them from here. Yeah, it looks to be a close race right now.
Again, it looks like boats are boat level coming into the trestle, but that inside turn will be in the UVic advantage here, just coming through that, head-to-head, awesome racing. Looks like UBC's come around a little bit, but they're, as we said, they'll be around the outside of this turn. UVic needs to do everything they can to hang on to this advantage that they built up in the first 2 minutes of the race.
Yeah, the Coxswains are steering very tight lines. It's pretty close together, but a clean race so far. Very exciting race right now.
Yeah, looking dead level across in front of you. You can hear the crowd, the crews and family members here on the dock down here at the St. Michael's University School Rowing Center. UVic is kind of holding level, but UBC, if they're able to hold on and not let them slip away on the inside of this turn, they're going to be in good shape for the next turn coming up under the Bay Street Bridge.
UBC looking really composed right now. It's a long race, so we're almost 5 minutes in, and it's they really have to sink into a rhythm right now. Trust the coxswain to do their job. Trust the stroke pair to set the rhythm.
You see the UBC coxswain raising their hand there. Obviously, they're acknowledging some instruction from the officials' launch. You can see right behind, maybe just crossing across the golden line, which is the center line of the course. Again, UVic is on the right-hand side of your picture here. You can see there, stroke by Anthony Carella. 7 seats, Ethan Gibb Randall. Samuel Ree at 6 seat. Michael Carrick from 5 seat, who's a new athlete this year from Winnipeg. Aiden Carr's at 4. Alex Migas at 3. Matt Thompson in 2 seat. And Sammy Ross in bow. And it looks like it's still pretty tight. Very close racing here.
Yeah, they're coming under the Johnson Street Bridge here. Wow, look at that. Bow ball for bow ball still.
Yeah, this is the slight turn. Once they get through this Bay Street Bridge, there'll be a slight turn to their port side, which will come into the UBC advantage. So it looks like UBC's in good position right now if they can just keep their strokes long and take advantage of that inside line on this turn, setting up before they hit that Johnson Street Bridge.
The UBC reserve men won this race last year, and I'm sure they have some athletes returning and some freshmen in the boat that are really wanting to put their stamp on it this year as well. But UVic is putting up a very good fight right now. This is a good race.
Yeah, quite a few freshmen in that UBC boat. Looks like they might just have moved out to a little bit of an advantage on the inside of that turn, and this little stretch here through the Point Hope Shipyard, one of our title sponsors. They'll be moving past the Point Hope Shipyard on the Esquimalt side before they go through that Johnson Street Bridge and have that final 500 to 600 meter stretch to the finish line. They're currently at 34 strokes a minute and holding strong and long there in the UBC boat, looking like a slight advantage now over UVic here. That last turn will be a slight turn back to the starboard side of the back towards the Esquimalt side, which may come back into the favor of the UVic crew if they can sustain and hang on to this sort of half-length position right now. Boats still overlapping, it's anyone's race.
Yeah, absolutely. And in an eights race like this, when you're just sitting side by side, the crew that's out in front really wants to break free, and the crew that's just sitting behind really doesn't want them to break free. So you're just stuck in this deadlock, and for the athletes right now, you can tell they're putting in everything they've got right now. The Coxies are doing an excellent job with their lines right. And yeah, this is good.
Okay, just approaching 8 minutes into this race. Normally that's well past 2,000 meters in racing here. So these athletes have trained in the last few months for some a longer race here. Should be in the 10-minute range. Currently we see UVic side by side with UBC, both crews at 34 strokes a minute with about 150 meters to go till they hit that Johnson Street Bridge. Hillary, what's happening here now for you as an athlete, and legs and lungs?
Both of them are hurting quite a bit right now, Terry. I'd say at this point it's really when you need to lean in psychologically to who you're in the boat with. And I always found in an eights race, when you're feeling fatigued physically, you just have to remember, look at the person in front of you, listen to the coxswain's voice, and know that it's up to everyone in the boat to keep going right now to push through this pain.
Okay, look at it. We see a little bit of disruption on the water now. Quite windy as they open up into a little bit more of the Inner Harbour here in Victoria. Looks like UVic has taken a slight advantage through that turn, maybe about half a length. And you can see the UBC crew here starting to struggle a little bit, keeping the blade clearance, keeping the blades well clear of the waves, and trying to get a hold of that water long forward.
Yeah, these are really difficult conditions to row in. You can tell that it's difficult to clear the water with the blade. It's hard to get that blade smoothly through the air. And UVic looks like they're handling it just a little bit better.
Yeah, it looks like maybe that inside line might be a slight advantage. A little bit flatter water here. I think a little disruption with the wind under the bridge. But as you can see, they're headed straight for the Parliament buildings here. Maybe 300 meters to go. It's basically a drag race here in this last 250 meters, 300 meters to go to the finish line.
Yeah.
Hillary, what do you think?
At this point, Terry, it's the coxswain's job to get the most out of their crew when you think your legs are completely done. It's when when the coxswain asks to bring it up a beat or two and to push through that last minute. That's you have to believe in what you're doing and believe in your crew.
Looks like UVic might be pushing across a little bit in front of UBC. They've got about a length advantage here now, and they've got to be careful not to cross that golden line. That's the center line of the course. Again, we've talked about the Esquimalt station where UVic is, and the Victoria station where UBC is currently. If UVic crosses into their water, they could be warned by the officials and potentially risking disqualification. Hopefully that doesn't happen here with maybe 30 seconds left to go in this race. It looks like it's UVic out front by about a length. Stroke rates are coming up now. 34.5 here for UVic, trying to stay long and strong. UBC trying to regain that 3/4 of a length advantage here with their rate going up to 36. Looks like UVic's got it by a little bit here, half a length.
Yeah, right down to the line.
And they're crossed. UVic's hands in the air. Looks like they're victorious. Great race. Never open water between the two crews.
Yeah, that was an outstanding race to be in that side by side for most of the race, and then UVic just kind of took advantage of a turn and finished really strong in that race, and I'm sure they're happy to reverse the result from last year.
Yeah, congrats to the UVic Varsity, and excellent racing, good perseverance from UBC, hanging in around that outside corner here past our station here at the St. Michael's University School boathouse. It looked like UBC was kind of managing around that outside turn, and we're going to hang on there, but looks like UVic sort of found their groove under the Johnson Street Bridge and really took advantage of a bit of disruption and that water through there.
Yeah, they definitely pushed through UBC and put their stamp on it. So, and it looks like this race was the first Brown Cup for all but two of the athletes in the UVic boat, so that's a pretty exciting way to start your Brown Cup career, is a win in the reserve race.
So we just talked a little bit about the about the two stations here, Esquimalt and Victoria. And I think it's an important time here for us now to just maybe make a little bit of a speak to the land acknowledgement and acknowledge the Aboriginal people that have lived on the land in and around the Gorge Waterway and the Portage Inlet for more than 4,000 years. The Songhees and Esquimalt Nations, First Nations, are both Coast Salish peoples and are two remaining local bands whose connection to the waterway remains very strong.
Yeah, and we're looking just across near the Trestle Bridge at Dead Man's Island. So the Island of the Dead is directly across from the St. Michael's University School Rowing Centre, and it was a burial ground where First Nations people brought their dead. There were subsurface graves on it and burial boxes both on the ground and in the trees, and the island currently belongs to and is stewarded by the Songhees Nations.
Yeah, just a little bit more about the St. Michael's University School program here. It's actually they're the stewards of this waterway, and like a society that actually houses 3 clubs, Hillary, and they are.
Firstly, we have the St. Michael's University School Rowing Club, and 50 to 70 students of St. Michael's University School row out of this club, and they compete in both local and national regattas, and have a history of producing international athletes.
We saw, Liam Hodgins.
Notably, Liam Hodgins is a graduate of SMU rowing program. He's currently stroking the UVic Varsity boat.
And also, the center here is home to the Gorge Narrows Rowing Club, which is it's a strong, non-competitive race program that is very inclusive. Won a big award this year at the Rowing Canada Awards, community initiatives and for equity and inclusion. And they have an open door policy here. Almost anybody looking to learn and be involved in nature and the waterway are welcome here at the Gorge Narrows Rowing Club.
And our last club based out of the SMU Rowing Centre is the Fairway Gorge Paddling Club, which facilitates community paddling of all kinds. So thank you very much to the St. Michael's University School Rowing Centre for being our host today for the Brown Cup, and hopefully many more Brown Cups to come. Thank you. And moving on to our next sponsor is Victoria Tug and Barge. This is a local family-owned and operated business that was started in 2016, and they operate in the Victoria Inner Harbour, as well as operating to destinations all over Vancouver Island and the mainland. And Victoria Tug and Barge prides itself on their environmental stewardship and supporting the local First Nations and communities in their operating area.
And I think so Victoria Tug and Barge are also, their work includes all kinds of support of construction projects. Many of their crew members are also local, and because of this, they have a very strong ability to react quickly to emergency stations in and around the Victoria area. In fact, one of the staff members recently rescued an older kayaker in the Inner Harbour from drowning recently.
Wow, that's pretty insane.
I'm going to move on to our title sponsor, is the Point Hope Shipyard, and we're hoping to have a little interview with Ricardo Ragosa, but he's not available today, to speak a little bit about some of the initiatives around the waterway that Point Hope is situated on. So Hillary, it looks like, just looking on the screen now, we got, this is the both crews returning. Yeah, this is both crews just returning back through the Inner Harbour here, and we're probably going to take a break here and go to take a little commercial break.
girls.
5, 4, 3. Okay, we're back here and just doing a little review of the tail of the tape. So this is an introduction of the two crews. So this is the next race is the reserve women's race. So just having a look here at the UVic women.
And this was always a unique feature about racing in the Brown Cup as an athlete. You don't have this normally spectacle in rowing of kind of a walkout and having your name announced and having the crews face each other. It's always kind of an intense moment when you're lined up from your competitors like that before racing.
Gorge, chief umpire, who's making the official toss. He's asking the crew that was that lost last year's race, the UBC women, to call heads or tails.
And I'll just go through the rosters here. So for the UBC varsity or reserve 8, Coxswain is Ella Diaz, stroke seat is Mary Law, 7 Stella Fraser, 6 is Claire Hallett, 5 Natasha Witz, 4 Lucy Hiscox, 3 Tyla Casey Knight, 2 Beth Miller, and bow seat is Megan Camplin.
And the lineup for the UVic women, Coxswain Helen Ross, who's a 4th-year student. Will be her second Brown Cup. Stroke seat is Tess McKay Pettyjohn, 5th-year student. 7th seat is Kyla Javra, 2nd-year student, 2nd Brown Cup. Ella Stemler's at 6th seat. In 5th seat we have Natalia Ariano, 3rd-year student in mathematics. This will be her first Brown Cup, and one of her highlights was rowing for Team BC at the Canada Summer Games this year. 4th seat is Gracie Lawrenson. 3 seat Abby Simpson. 2 seat Sofia Ragosa, who was on the Junior World Championship Junior Women's Pair this year at the World Championships. And in bow seat is Paige Letham, who's a 4th-year student, and this will be her second Brown Cup. She was a member of the 2022 National Championship CURC crew. So just looking forward to hopefully another tight race here with the two crews lined up.
Yeah, so before the race, in those last few minutes before the starting gun goes off, hopefully the athletes are feeling pretty good and warm from a good warm-up and are really focused on just those first few strokes out of the gate. You can't be thinking about the whole race right now, just making sure you execute it.
Yeah, so you can see the two crews lined up now. So there are just quite a few bridges here on the course, and that is just south of the Tillicum Narrows here. So Tillicum Narrows Bridge, and they're off. First few strokes away clean. As you can see, UVic is on that Victoria side, and UBC's on the Esquimalt station. Again, what's happening here? The first few strokes, Hillary, for you as an athlete.
Yeah, well, you've got the boat, which weighs about 96 kilos, and you've got 9 people in it. So you've got to get that from a starting point up to race speed. So that takes some work. You're slamming the legs down. You're trying to be clean with your blade work. You're really just trying to be precise, support the girl in front of you, and listen to that coxswain.
And I mean, you got to be flat out. We got UVic at 42. UBC settling in a little bit at 38 strokes a minute, so a little bit lower rate, but they're flat out at this point, and they really need to find the stride and rhythm somewhere around a minute in here.
Yeah, rowing is such an interesting sport because obviously you're facing backwards, so the psychological advantage of having a good start cannot be understated.
It looks like both crews are away clean, as we said. UBC might be a little bit lower stroke rate. Looks like they're taking advantage of length and power per stroke. And in rowing, there's 3 ways to move the boat: length of stroke, power per stroke, and rate. And that's the number that I keep sort of feeding you here, the number of strokes a minute you can take. And obviously, around a minute in here, crews are looking to stride into a bit of a sustainable race pace rhythm, which has to be a little bit of a compromise of max rate, max power, max length.
Yeah, it needs to be sustainable because this is not just a normal 2K race. This is just over 3K, so it needs to be maybe a beat lower than you would do a 2K race. But once again, you're not settling in too low because then it gets a little bit heavy and you need to keep turning over the strokes.
It looks like UVic might have about a half a length advantage here, just approaching the 2-minute mark into this race. So generally past that anaerobic sort of crisis moment of through the minute where your lactate is built up in your legs and your body is telling you to stop, but your brain has to override that, and you got to get into that rhythm and length, and find that aerobic engine that you've been training so hard all winter.
Yeah, just trusting that your fitness is there and that you can push through that first initial discomfort and just kind of sink into it and feed into the 8 and help it go. So here we have the UBC Reserve Women stroked by Mary Law, who's head of the Charles winner in the lightweight women's 4.
It looks like
so she's looking to kind of help her crew back into the race right now and not lose contact on that UVic boat.
Hilary, does it look like they're pretty close there? Like, does it look like UBC might be rowing in the wash of the UVic boat?
Yeah, and that's always kind of, you need to be careful about that because it slows you down a little bit if you're in the wash, but also being close to the other boat usually helps the rowers stay in it mentally.
Yeah, this is a great shot here from our drone here that's stationed out front of the rowing center here. It looks like UVic's pushed out to a pretty healthy advantage, maybe almost a length lead here approaching the trestle bridge here.
Mm-hmm. And into the trestle bridge, UVic is going to do everything they can to break into open water over the UBC women. And UBC likewise is going to do everything they can to counter that and maintain contact and maybe even take a seat or two back.
Well, that's, as we said, we saw in the first race, that advantage around the turn, around the trestle in front of us, our station here at St. Michael's, comes back into the advantage of UBC. So if they can just kind of hang on, keep that closed length, they can take advantage of that inside turn and maybe get back on terms here with UVic.
Mm-hmm.
UBC is a little bit lower with the stroke rate still. They're at 33.5. UVic's ticking it along at 35.5, and kind of sitting out front there. And really, that's a great place to be as an athlete. You kind of know where your competition is, and you can kind of manage any moves from there. Tell us about times when you've been in this situation. Anyway.
Yeah, when you're racing out in front, it just doesn't hurt as much. You know, it's hard to explain, but that. When you're in an 8 and you've got a comfortable lead like the UVic women do have right now, it's a nice feeling, and it's everyone in the boat has a positive energy. There we go. We can see the 8s coming into view now.
Yeah, the crowd's kind of pushing UVic along there at 36 strokes a minute around this corner, probably sensing that this is the moment where UBC could come back on terms.
Yeah, so let's see if Ella Diaz, the coxswain from UBC, can take advantage of this inside turn.
Yeah, UBC's up to 34.5 now, so they're kind of push. You see just coming around past Dead Man's Island there, and that got to stay as tight as they can to that pylon.
Yeah, it looks like UVic might be going a little bit wide there, but then they're coming back around, so well done by their coxswain.
Okay, so yeah, close, about 3/4 of a closed length right now. They got to, once they hit that sort of straight line out of that turn, they want to get in clear water. They want to make sure that the UBC crew's in clear water. You can just see that they're rowing in a bit of messy water. The puddles from the starboard side of the UVic blades. The port side on UBC might be getting into some disturbed water there. They want to sort of spread out and put the hammer down here to Bay Street Bridge and hold that closed length right now.
Yeah, and as we saw in the reserve men's race, the water certainly gets choppy as it opens up into the Inner Harbour. So I think the crews are gonna benefit from staying relaxed and composed here.
Yeah, just looking at that UVic crew in the distance there, you can see 2C to Sofia Ragosa there. She's just hanging away with Paige Letham, the 2 lightweights up in bow seat, CURC champions this year. Just hanging on and supporting that stern 6 of their crew. And straight shot here to Bay Street Bridge. It looks like that UVic advantage is still about a length, but UBC's not letting them go. Got UBC at 34.5 strokes a minute right now.
Yeah, so we're 6.5 minutes into the race, which is about the time it takes for an 8 to do a 2K. So this is the extra part that they've been training all winter for this last kilometer.
Yeah, and look at that. You just see the bow just starting to get into the puddles there of the UVic crew. That's going to be a little frustrating for the UBC boat. They want to separate. Hopefully the coxswains can sort of separate a little bit so they have the best opportunity here. As we saw in the first race, that inside line, the Esquimalt station, that advantage came back once we got out into the swirly water under the Johnson Street Bridge. We'll see if that holds up again. They need to be in proximity, though, to take advantage of that in the last 500 meters. You see the Coxswain from UVic has raised her hand and acknowledged that a warning probably from the umpire. That's Helen Ross and Coxswain, the women's JV reserve crew from UVic, probably being warned by the umpires to stay clear, stay out to port side. So it looks like they have separated a little bit, and we see that UBC's in good water again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in an eights race, bow seat, bow pair will have the best view of what the other boat is doing. So I'm sure that Megan Camplin and Beth Miller, the bow pair of UBC's reserve women, are trying to urge on their crew and let them know that they still have time to close this distance.
So last year we saw UVic manage to win this event. You think that UBC is going to be able to turn this around here in this last little bit, Hillary, around this corner?
I have my hopes, but open water is pretty difficult to overcome in an 8, especially if the conditions get worse. It's always harder to make a defined move when the conditions are rough out there. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, so probably about 200 meters to go till they get to that rough spot through the Johnson Street Bridge. Crews have separated quite a bit in terms of side-by-side proximity, which is good to see. Hopefully UBC can take advantage of that clear water on the inside to get back on terms. Doesn't look like the UVic athletes are going to make that easy for them. You can see in stroke seat, Tess McKay, Patty John's doing a great job in her 5th year here, her 3rd Brown Cup, doing a great job, and supported by Kyla Javra in 7 seat and Ella Stemler in 6 seat behind her, supported by Natalia Ariano in the middle. So those two big engines in the middle and 5 and 6 really pushing down some power, trying to sustain that lead that they have. Just approaching that Johnson Street Bridge now.
Yeah, so 5 of these UVic athletes are in their first Brown Cup, and I'm sure this is exactly what they wanted, that they've envisioned this all their winter training. And the experienced athletes in the boat are also probably leading the charge here.
So, yeah, we're just looking here at the water now. Just want to look on the screen. Just as they come under, look at that. They've got the bridges packed with family and fans watching the racing, and a little bit of difficult water through here. This is where we saw the race in the men's reserve race really separate. The UVic men handled that rough water pretty well. You see the waves just sort of coming down alongside of the boats, hitting the riggers and the blades a little bit. Looks like UBC's moving back, if I'm not mistaken, Hillary.
Yeah, which is similar to what we saw in the reserve men, so that might mean that the water's just a little cleaner, farther away from the shore at this part of the course.
So it looks like UBC's, they've pushed up their rate to 35 now and trying to make it mount a little bit of a challenge here. This maybe about a 3/4 length advantage with about a minute to go in this race.
Yeah, these conditions are tough, especially at the end of the race. A long race, these athletes their muscles are burning, their lungs are burning, and yet they're trying to be technically clean, which is really difficult, and the Coxswains are there to spur them on and remind them why they're doing this. So UBC women just closing the gap here, but it might be a little too late. We'll see.
Look at the background here, just right across. What a unique environment here in the Victoria Harbour. You see the historic buildings and obviously all the boats in the harbour here. And we'll be going by the Harbour Ferry and Harbour Air Terminal as well. So not that the athletes have time to look out and enjoy that.
I don't think they're thinking about that right now, Terry.
Yeah, it looks like UVic's kind of held their position there, maybe pushed back a little bit. Still a closed length. Great race, great race. There's the Harbour airplane that they're going by here. That means they probably got 20 strokes left to go, and those historic buildings in the background of Victoria just whizzing by. So you get a real sense of how fast these athletes are moving right now.
Yeah, so it seems like UVic has kind of pushed away UBC after they put in that charge, and they're almost here. Last few strokes.
Yeah,
just
UVic's
leaving it all on the course.
36 and a half strokes a minute, sprinting for the line. They just want to get that bow across safely in front. And UBC, again, still challenging, trying to close that gap. They're at 35 strokes a minute. 12 minutes in, wow, it's a long race, and this proximity to each other the whole way down has been a great race.
Mm-hmm.
And looks like UVic is through. Okay, 2 for 2 for UVic in the reserve races, and UBC's through, just 4 seconds down.
Yeah, so the UVic reserve women defend their victory last year, and I'm sure they'll be thrilled to do that on home waters here on the Gorge.
Yeah, it's a good shot there. The UVic women, the victorious crew. You see Ella in 6th seat and Natalia in 5 in the middle. We've got Gracie Lawrenson at 4th seat. First Brown Cup for her, so great, awesome race for her. Abby Simpson at 3. There you see her. Sophia Ragosa is obviously screaming in excitement here, happy about her result, and Paige Letham in bow seat. So they look very happy with that result today. Okay, we're going to cut and go to break here.
Absolutely.
out. Karen Bassan got it.
There from Cole Pickup, who passes there to Jesse King, who scores again!
At West Shore Motorsports Barge.
Crossing the box for Parmar, and she's done it. The opening goal.
Welcome back here to the St. Michael's University School Program Center here with Hillary. Joining us is Skylar Presh, former UVic Coxswain and U23 national team Coxswain, here to answer a few questions about the course and the challenges that the crews are dealing with today.
Yeah, so welcome, Skylar. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
My first question is, as a UVic alumnus who's raced a few Brown Cups, how does a Coxswain in particular prepare for a race like this? What's your mindset going into Brown Cup?
So as a Coxswain, you kind of have to have two plans. And when deciding how to make moves, you're thinking about, okay, if I'm on this line, I want to push here. If I'm on this line, I want to push at maybe a different spot. But especially here in Victoria with this course, this Esquimalt turn is pretty pivotal. So looking to push around this turn is a pretty big spot in the race.
Yeah, so we observed in the first couple of races, the crews were both pretty close, and just approaching that turn. How do you set up for that? I mean, what are you telling the athletes leading into that?
Yeah, especially since this is like a dual race, my first thought is get out ahead. So get as many watts onto the blade, onto the foot plate as possible in the first 30 strokes of the race and see if I can get a seat up. And then when pushing around, if I'm on the Victoria side, take that turn tight and don't give the other Coxswain any breathing space. And then if I'm on the inside of that turn, maybe push them out a little bit and give the other Coxswain a tough time.
Right, we saw that. I think we saw that in the last race, that the crew on the Victoria side, the UVic men, had a bit of an advantage and really definitely took that nice and tight. Whereas in the race before, we really dead sort of head to head through the bridge there.
Yeah.
And how do you manage that on the inside?
On the inside, keep calm, execute the race plan, and make it sound like there's just another day on the race course.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And Skylar, I'm wondering if you could just give us a glimpse into what the training program is like for the UVic men right now. So, give us a glimpse into how hard these athletes have been training for this event.
Yeah, so we've been training 6 days a week, 1 day on the weekends with 2 sessions on that day where we do a bit longer rows. And then during the week, from 5:45 to 7:45, we're out on the water training all the way. We've got 4/8 training right now in lead up to Brown Cup. So we got some really nice depth there and some young guys learning the process early this year so that moving forward next year they can really find themselves prepared and ready to fill in those seats that might be open or might be contested. And then in the afternoons, got some weight sessions, some erg sessions to get some competitive space in the erg room and in the weight room. So that's a lot of fun.
Right. Just back, Hillary and I were talking a little bit about, was it 2018 or 2019 over on the Fraser in this race, the head-to-head race between UVic and the UBC Varsity men. You were coxing the UVic men, and tell us about that. I remember that race being stopped a few times.
Yeah, so that
was there blame assigned at any point, or was there some fouls?
No, I mean that's racing. That's dual racing. That was in 2018. We were racing out on the Fraser, and I think it was probably about 500 meters in. We had some clashing of blades, and we broke a backstay on my boat, so we had to stop the race, and it was a 40-minute delay. And then Wasn't on.
Okay.
There was a 40-minute delay, and we just had to keep going.
In the middle of the race.
In the middle of the race.
All right. Well, luckily we haven't seen any clashes here today.
No.
Okay. I think we're going to wrap up. Anything more from you, Hillary?
No, thanks for your insight into the coxswain. As a rower, it's always the job as the rower is to just really just do their job in their seat and not worry about steering and just listen to the coxswain. So it's always the brains on board. Everyone else, you just kind of want to be a little bit less cognitive when you're out there.
Yeah, we'll try to do the strategy and make space for the rowers to just do their job.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. I guess
out, Karen Masson. Got it.
There from full pickup, who will pass it there to Jesse King, who scores again!
At West Shore Motorsports Barge.
Crossing the box for Parmar, and she's done it! The opening goal!
back to the 29th annual Brand Cup viewing. Today we're interviewing Rick Crawley. He's a 35-year coach. Coached 35 years for the UVic team and is celebrating his 50th year in rowing. And so Rick, tell us how your interpretation of how the Brown Cup started and its roots.
Well, actually, I have to credit Howie Campbell and Joe Dowd. Joe was the UBC men's coach at that time, and the two of them got together. And it started out as the race for the blade. And UBC didn't have a women's crew, so the first year the women didn't get to row. And then the next year we came on strong. And I think it was the third year I was introduced to an elderly couple, the Browns, and they had this gold cup from the Queen Victoria era, and they asked, could we use that for anything? They said, yeah, we could, and hence the history of the Brown Cup. After that, it became known as the Brown Cup. And what we decided to do is every year the winning crew, their complete names are on the cup, along with the coach, and that's how it's gone. It's getting pretty big now. It was a lot smaller to start with. I don't think I can lift it now.
Yeah, and can you tell us a little bit about what having the Brown Cup as a kind of a penultimate event for UVic and UBC, what that does for rowing on the West Coast and the university programs within Canada? Can you tell us the benefit of having an event like this?
Well, I think it's modeled after the famous Oxford-Cambridge race, and it's gained steam over the years, I think. Now it's like broadcast, all kinds of things. There's a lot more people come out and watch, but it's two of the strongest. It's the strongest rivalry in Canadian rowing, and two of the top crews. I'd say UBC and UVic have probably supplied the vast majority of national team athletes. Excuse me. That's after 35 years of yelling. I'm not used to talking anymore. But anyways, they're the perennial ones that fight for the Canadian University Rowing Championships, which actually started with a conversation between myself and Joe Dowd. So Joe's had his thumb in two major events in the Canadian University circuit. So.
Wow, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Good to see you.
That it?
Thank you.
Okay, we're back at the start here with the varsity men, and they are off just in time here. Looks like we got UVic on the inside. That's the Esquimalt side, and UBC on the Victoria Station. Hillary, who's in the UBC boat?
The defending Brown Cup champions and Canadian University champions, men's 8 from UBC, is Cox by Isabel Barlow-Jeffrey, Stroke by Julian Black. 7 seat is...
Looks like just 30 seconds into the race here. Looks like both crews flat out cranking away here. We got 42.5 strokes a minute for the crew on the screen here. That's UVic.
7 seat is Axel Iwashko, 6 seat is Quinn Story, 5 Julian Weiss, 4 Aiden Delasiega, 3 Liam Smith, 2 Brendan Wall, and 1 Ben Bushheit.
All right, the UVic men are Cox by Canada Games and Canadian U23, Coxswain, Nicholas Copeland Murray, and Murray Copeland. Stroke seed is Liam Hodgins from Victoria, right here at St. Michael's University School. 7 seed is Kai Bartel. 6 seed Spencer Lewis, 4th-year athlete. 2nd Brown Cup for him. In 5 seed we have Will Simpson, also national team U23 and Rowing BC Canada Summer Games team member. Will Simpson at 5, followed by Connor Attridge. Same thing. These two guys rowed together at the under 23s in the men's 8 last year. 3-seat Victor Lefebvre from Quebec, new athlete, talent ID athlete who's transferred into Victoria this year. Giancarlo Di Pompeo, and 2-seat lightweight. Those three athletes are all headed to the Pan Am qualification event for Rowing Canada next week. And in bow seat we have Jesse Harold, former Brentwood rower. And how's it looking here on the course so far, Hillary?
I think it's a close race off the start. It looks like UVic is taking advantage of their Esquimalt station, and I think they had a couple seats up on UBC.
37 strokes a minute here. Guys look pretty composed, shoulders pretty relaxed, very accurate at the front end. Got a nice rhythm going here.
And I think going into this race that the UBC men are probably feeling pretty confident. They've been undefeated in Canada since 2018. They've won 4 national championships in that time period. And they've got some very promising young athletes in that boat. Stroked by 2-time CURC champion in the men's pair, Julian Black.
Yeah, he's at 37 strokes a minute. You see they're on starboard side, starboard stroke rig there. So bow seat's on port side and starboard stroke seat. Any advantage on this course on port side or stroke side?
Well, you're asking the wrong person. I'm a rower, not a coxswain. So yeah, so if you have whatever side your stroke seat is on, it's going to be a little bit easier to turn to the side that your bow seat is on. So if your bow seat is port, you're going to find it a little easier to turn. Coming around
this first turn here through the trestle, looks like they're taking an advantage here. Definitely about a length up, and that bow seat on port side is going to be able to crank the bow around here on the UBC side.
Yeah,
looks like
UBC
that open water.
Looking very strong, really long strokes, really relaxed. You can tell they're wanting to grab this race by the scruff of the collar and not let go of it.
Yeah, so we talked to Skylar, mentioned sort of the desire to get out front here and sort of be an advantage and have a nice tight turn on the outside there. Be interesting to see if the crews clash at all or they're warned by, looks like the flag in the following boat, that's the umpire waving the UBC crew out to port side, having them not cross that golden line in the middle of the course. So you got open water advantage here, crossing in front of this St. Michael's University School boathouse here. And as I said, they were being warned to stay out wide. So yeah, it looks like they pushed out. You can see how those puddles are just running down into the blades of the port side of the UVic boat. So they're really, the coxswain's doing a great job coming around that corner.
Yeah, coxswain Isabel Barlow-Jeffrey from UBC is steering an aggressive line, but she's giving her crew the best look right now.
I don't see the flag in the, oh, I see it, it's up again. You see that flag is, the umpire is warning UBC to get, they're basically rowing directly in front of UVic right now, and they are risking potentially a disqualification for leaving their station. We'll see how that plays out. We hope that the crews will separate and that they don't get into a situation where one crew is disqualified for not following the rules. Certainly in a strong position right now with UBC rowing at 34 strokes a minute with well open clear water here over UVic. You see the bow pair there, Jesse Harold and Giancarlo just had a look over his shoulder going, where'd that UBC crew go? Man, they took off on us around that corner. So he's having a look, he's probably shouting down the crew, trying to spur on his teammates to try to regain some of that distance between the two crews.
You can see the UBC men off in the distance there. Going through the UBC boat bow pair, we have Ben, a first year on the team, a graduate of the UBC novice program. So I love to see those athletes who have not rowed before university and they get recruited and pick it up fairly well. Second seat is Brendan Wall on the other end. I have a stat sheet here that we've lost count of how many Brown Cups he's competed in because he's been around so long, but I'm sure he's enjoying this ride.
Former U23 team member as well.
Yeah, outstanding rower. And 3 seed in the UBC Men's 8 is actually the 2022 Canadian national champion in the men's signals. So he's a very well-established sculler, which is with 2 oars. And it's a bit different with 1 oar, but it's pretty much the same sport. It's a little bit more raw and powerful in a big boat versus a small boat. But any time that you can have someone as technical as Liam in a boat, it certainly helps add to the boat speed.
Yeah, he's in 3-seat there. You can just see him. He's a bit slumped down in the boat. A little shorter athlete, but a very powerful athlete, and I think a key member of that boat, really helping to sort of solidify the rhythm and connect the bow forward to the stern forward of that 8, and they're doing a great job out front there right now. 34.5 strokes a minute for that UBC crew. UVic looks like they're coming in some nice flat water here alongside the Point Hope shipyard. That's our title sponsor. Just passing that shipyard there. Nice flat water. The wind has settled down a little bit, but right now really struggling to get out of their puddles. So they're in a world of hurt right now. They're down in the race and trying to get away from their puddles, so they need to bear down and keep the pressure on the face of the blade.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in that UVic boat. It's just, this is not how you imagine today going. You've worked really hard for this all winter long, and you were hoping for a bit more of a race. But they're still going for it, and I'm sure they want to finish this season knowing that they put their best effort out there.
Yeah, they're at 33 strokes a minute, just about maybe 2 lengths of open water here. As we said, 8 minutes here, just over. UBC just had a little collision there with some Canada geese. That looks like they're okay. Managed to come through that, and the geese have flown off safely, so no concerns there. But again, just this swirly water here under the Johnson Street Bridge, leading into that last sort of 400 meters. 1 minute or so left in this race, and UVic looking to hold that inside line and try to hit the gas and catch up to UBC. They got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and if you're in that UBC boat, you know this is looking pretty good, but at this point in the race, you're just looking to stay clean with your blades, add a little bit more power to the face of the blade, but really just trying to stay clean and not do anything to stop the boat.
Yeah, no whammies through here. Looks like a little bit of rough water again. We've seen that at the first 2 races. A little swirly water, bit of challenging conditions just through here, and then it flattens out towards the finish line. So that's something that I'm sure the Varsity crews took note of, observing their reserve crews, getting some feedback. Looks like we're gonna could potentially some excitement here. We got a Harbour airplane just coming in, and we hope that that plane is out of the way before UBC comes through. They're moving pretty fast right now. Looks like they may have to steer out and around that plane. Looks like they're okay. Yeah, UBC out front pretty comfortably right now. They're at 32.5 strokes a minute. Just need to navigate that little bit of challenge, probably a bit of wash from the seaplane. You can see the UVic boat bouncing around quite a bit as a result of that wash. That's unfortunate, but just looks like it hasn't. Yeah, definitely. UVic really struggling in that.
UVic 8 really hard right now.
Looks like UBC's clear of it, and the boat is moving sideways back to the Victoria station now, headed for the finish line. So it looks like both crews definitely intentionally went out and around that seaplane.
Yeah, so in the UBC vote, we have just 2 athletes who are in their first Brown Cup, 5-seat Julian Weiss and bow-seat Ben Buchheit. So I'm sure they're really pleased with how this is going, and this is going to add to their experience. And I'm sure they'll be future leaders on the team.
And in our talking notes here, these guys are undefeated since 2018. So
yeah, and there's a couple impressive records. They have the fastest Canadian University 8 2,000 meter time of 5:25, which I don't know, Terry, you've raced the 8 internationally. How's that for a time?
That's a pretty fast time. The world record is 5:18 point something. But
yeah, so there you go. The UBC men Varsity 8 has won another Brown Cup. Yeah. With an exclamation mark on the end, because that was an impressive race. Yeah,
it looks like they we didn't see a lot of that the UBC boat in the first 2 minutes, and we're looking at the UVic boat. They look pretty comfortable, but I think they that UVic boat, or sorry, the UBC boat really slipped away just between 2 minutes in and that point to the trestle bridge. They really extended that margin and put themselves in a good position around that corner, and then I don't think looked back since. So from that point, so yeah, excellent job by the UBC crew and Coach Mike Pierce.
Yeah. I think whenever you see when you see a boat do that in a race where their start is not too impressive, they don't blast out of the gates, but they just continually walk away. I think that's a sign that they're a very fit crew, and they've been really putting in the hours over the winter, because that's tough to do physiologically. You're pushing through a lot to be able to maintain that output. So that's impressive from the UBC men.
Okay, yeah, we're just having a look at a little bit of busy down there in the Inner Harbour. UBC victorious crew just turning around, going to safely make their way back to our spot here. And we're going to take a break, Hillary, and look forward to the next race, the final race of the day, Varsity Women. Back in a minute.
Look out, Karen Masson. Got it.
There from full pickup, who passes there to Jesse King, who scores again!
At West Shore Motorsports Park.
Crossing the box for Parmar, and she's done it. The opening goal.
Okay, we're back here with the final race of the day, the Varsity Women's Race for the Brown Cup here, 29th Brown Cup, and just looking at here the tail of the tape, we see the UVic women's crew, and that crew is coached by Jane Gumley. Cox is Zoe Crookshank. Stroke seat is Danae McCullough. 7 seat is Danica Ariano. 6 seat Abby Spears. 5 seat Nicole Kuzak. In 4 seat we have Michaela Holthus. 3 seat Maggie Hemphill. 2 seat Genevieve Olson, and in bow is Noah Hardcastle. And here's a look at the UBC women.
Yeah, the UBC women are coached by Craig Pond. Cox is Alex Birkinshaw. Stroke seat is Sally Jones. 7 is Gabriella Wurbeck. 6 is Laura Stankovic. 5, Caitlin Lawrence. 4, Lindsay Bryden. 3, Ellen Marion. 2, Nicole Gammy. And bow seat is Jackie Blunt. Here you see the crews just backing the boats up to the starting gates.
And we saw that coin toss again, and again that was to determine the station. So the winner of the coin toss gets to call what station they're at. And it looks like we have on the Esquimalt side is the University of Victoria, here with the white jerseys with the blue and yellow stripes, and in the dark on the far side, the UBC on the Victoria station.
Yeah, so these boats have been trading wins the last couple years. The UBC women have won 3 of the last 4 Canadian University Championships in the women's 8. And the UVic women have won this recent, the 2022 8 at the CUs, and also last year's Brown Cup. So I'm sure UBC will be hoping to get back on the winning side of this battle. But these crews are, it's always a tight race lining up in these 2 boats.
Yeah, so you see them just getting set up here. The Coxswains have their hands raised. That means they don't have a point. Just getting prepared here. All athletes sitting at the full slide, so 3/4 slide length, ready for that first stroke. Hands are down. Looks like we're ready and off. First stroke complete. UVic powering it away here quickly. They're at 43 strokes a minute. Quick and sharp, and on the far side also 43.5 strokes a minute. The UBC crew looks like they're really close together here from our vantage point. Really tight. We got some UBC Coxswain waving their hand, like not sure whether there was an acknowledgement of a warning from the umpires, but looks like they've separated 30 seconds in, looking for that rhythm here that we spoke about earlier, Hillary.
Yeah, just powering off the start in an 8. You really want to get that boat up to speed, but you don't want to waste too much energy kind of spinning your wheels and burning all your matches early in the race. It's a long race, so you really need to find that rhythm. And I'm sure we're about a minute in now, so the Coxswains are probably calling that first shift down, which is just trying to find a little bit more length in the stroke.
Yeah, it looks like they've separated pretty well here, both on well clear on their own stations, and crews into rhythm now. We're just looking at, from our perspective here, quite a bit of wind here, still Looks like it's shifting, a little wind coming from that Esquimalt station across to the Victoria station. From my perspective, it's a slight tailwind now. And they'll be coming around that first turn here. The first turn is a slight advantage for the Victoria station on the UBC, in UBC's favor. So as we said before, UVic will be looking to try to pound out and get a bit of a lead and try to control things from that in the first 2 minutes or so, and be able to sort of match any moves that UBC makes. But we haven't seen them come around that turn just yet. Great view from the drone here. Lots of people up on the trestle bridge, and you see just how narrow it is through there, Hillary. That gap that the two crews will be coming through.
Yeah, so the coxswains are constantly trying to determine if they have the best line for their crew right now.
We're still searching for the crews. I wonder if they've stopped the race. Bit of a blank page for us here at the moment. Here we're just starting to see them coming around the corner there now. I think we've lost our following camera. Yeah, just coming around that turn. So about a minute here from the trestle bridge now at 2.5 minutes into the race.
Yeah, the 8s at this point are always just trying to establish position. So there's usually a bit of a tussle as boats try to take seats off one another. It looks like it's pretty close right now, though, and they have a straight shot to the trestle. So they will have talked about, they have a race plan, and they're calling off the landmarks and off the other crews. So this looks like a tight race to start off in the UBC Women's Varsity race today.
Yeah, it looks like on the inside, so that's the Esquimalt station on the left, the crew on your left is the UVic crew. May have about a deck advantage, not much more than that. Great race here with UBC. They've got good separation between the two crews. That may not be the best advantage for UBC. They need to be a little tighter to that UVic crew, who will have the inside of that first turn. So you want to see them nice and tight here approaching this trestle bridge that we saw a minute ago. Very narrow gap that they need to get through. So it looks like to me that UBC will have to move to their starboard side to get tighter together with that UVic crew who's on the Esquimalt station.
Yeah, coxswain Alex Birkinshaw really has to make sure she does this well. Makes a clean turn for her crew and also subtle turns. So every time the coxswain steers the boat, it can upset the rowers a little bit. Physically, it can upset the balance of the boat. So we're getting really tight here on the blades.
I hope they didn't hear me saying get too close together. Really close here. You can just see the stroke seat of UVic crew almost touching two seat in the UBC boat. Wow, awesome job by both coxswains. Birkinshaw holding that outside line really tight. Great job. UVic, slight advantage here through that trestle.
Just coming under the trestle bridge. It's always a burst of energy there. Wow, so many fans today out cheering for this race. Awesome to see.
And pretty swirly, unsettled conditions here. I think it's the crew that manages the composure, keeps their timing together, the rhythm, and is accurate with their blade work that's going to prevail here. So again, nice tight race here. Half length, closed boat length here. 5 minutes into the race. They got another 5 minutes to go, so we're about halfway. And again, we saw that shift back to the UBC advantage here. It looks like UBC's closing up on UVic here.
Yeah, and it's important in these races to as a coxswain, to let your rowers know that this is a long race and it's not a straight race. So it's important to keep the foot on the gas and keep pushing. Sally Jones and Gabriella Wurbeck leading their stroke pair in the UBC boat, keeping the rate up.
Yeah, they're at 34.5 strokes a minute there, Hillary. Just taking a rate on UVic. Looking long and strong on the inside. Kind of comes straight out of that turn. A little bit, might have been a bit rattled with the UBC being as close as they were to them around that corner, but looks like they've sort of settled down and got back into length again. They're at 35 strokes a minute and covering some pretty good water, almost even spacing on their puddles. That drone shot really gives us an indication of how fast and how far the boat travels per stroke.
Yeah, the UVic boat is stroked by Danae McCulloch, an experienced athlete. She's in her 5th year, and I'm sure she's wanting to end it with a Brown Cup win here. So it looks like it's Bautista and UVic is up on UBC.
Yeah, UBC just at 32 strokes a minute. Might lost about a quarter of a length since coming around that corner. Again, we did say that through that Bay Street Bridge there is a slight turn to the port side, which does advantage the UBC crew on the Victoria station. See if they can take advantage of that and close it up to about half a length again. A nice stretch of water here between the two bridges, the Bay Street Bridge and the Johnson Street Bridge, formerly known as the Blue Bridge, that was replaced. And interesting facts about the Blue Bridge, I didn't realize it was built in 1927.
Wow.
And it replaced the original E&N Railway Bridge that was built in 1888. Amazing.
A lot of history around here. A beautiful race course.
So UBC here at 34.5 strokes a minute. You can see in the middle there two Canada Summer Games team BC athletes in the middle of that boat trying to power the crew along, get them back on terms with the crew on the far side, passing the Point Hope shipyard in the white vests with the stripes from UVic, looking long and strong. We'll see if they can maintain this advantage. Really windy at the moment where we're at. So I can imagine in the cruise what it feels like when you hear that wind whistling in your ears.
It's less of you hear it less than you feel it on your back, Terry. So you definitely things feel pretty heavy in a headwind like this. But once again, if you're in the UVic boat right now, you're feeling good in your position and you're just wanting to keep clean and keep pushing away from UBC.
Yeah, they're at 34.5, 35 strokes a minute. A few of these athletes, Nicole Cusack in the middle and 5 seat there. The UVic boat is in the Pan Am Games qualification crew that's racing and leaving for Santiago, Chile to represent Canada on April 9th. So pretty busy week for her coming up this week in final preparations with the Team Canada crew after this race. So she'll be looking to finish up here with her race here with her home university club here and move on to the national level here with the Pan Am qualification crew coming up. Out to about a quarter of a length of open water coming around that last turn before we hit the Johnson Street Bridge. We'll be watching for the conditions on the water under that bridge to see who handles this really well.
Yeah, UVic looking really confident in their rhythm, which is reign supreme in an 8. If a rhythm is going well in an 8, things are going well. The boat speed is usually there, and it just feels better to row in a boat with rhythm like that. So I'm sure they're
and rhythm means
it.
The quick movements through the water, a little more relaxed movements on the recovery. So there's a ratio or contrast in the rhythm where there's time forward, power through the water. It looks like UVic has found that, and they've got about a minute to go here in this race. They've got open water advantage over UBC. And looks like the water settled down a little bit through here, not as swirly as we saw earlier in previous races.
Yeah, a lot of fans packed on the Johnson Street Bridge, looking into the Inner Harbour here in Victoria as these two crews finish off the last couple minutes of the race. Good, water's choppy, but UVic is handling it well. You can see the bow of UBC also in view.
You can see in 7th seat there the UVic athlete Danica Ariano was in the Canada Summer Games team for rowing BC as well, with a few of her teammates there in the middle. Caitlin in the middle at 5 seat of that crew, as well as Lindsay Bryden. So Lindsay and Caitlin and the UBC crew rode together with Danica at 7th seat here. So on opposing sides here today, looks like UVic is going to manage that length or two lead out front. Hand is up, acknowledging some instructions from the official. I'm not sure what's going on here. Definitely getting rough water here at the very end as we enter the Inner Harbour here. Wow, that's really bouncy. both crews doing everything they can to manage that and get effective strokes to get across the line.
Yeah, that's extremely difficult at the end of the race when crews are wanting to wind up their rate as well. It's almost counterproductive to bring up the rate in conditions like this.
Okay. Last few strokes, yeah, they just kind of powered it down here, just lengthening out, just stabilizing. Last few strokes, 31 strokes a minute for UVic. Just trying to manage, looks like quite a bit of crosswind. It does so. The Inner Harbour opens up and moves out towards the straight. So I'd imagine a big crosswind and a lot of chop coming down that stretch of water. They're trying to just get these last few strokes in safely, get their bow across, and maintain their position. UBC's doing everything they can to get back into this. It looks like they have closed in on UVic. But I don't think they're going to run. I think they're going to run out of water here. There's the finish line now. Looks like UVic is through. Hands up. Coxswain's happy, and the crew celebrating a great race. A little tighter at the end. UBC did a good job managing that water, coming back and closing that margin.
Yeah, so UVic women defend their title, their Brown Cup championship from last year, and I'm sure they're very pleased about that.
Okay, looks like the athletes in the background here recognize the win, and a lot of celebration with the UVic women's program.
Yeah.
So two for two with the UVic women this year. And the men's split, the UBC men's varsity, pretty dominant. I think the most dominant race that we saw. But the other three races were really tightly contested, and I think overall great racing today.
Yeah, I don't think we had any collisions, which is always good. You always want fair racing, and the conditions were a little tricky, I think, but everyone managed it well.
Yeah, I think, well, April 1st here, the whole month of, well, last couple of weeks here in March on the water, it's been pretty windy and swirly, and nice to see the sun poke out here. We had a little bit of rain earlier, but when the sun comes out, we have that high pressure, blows that wind up and creates some challenges for the athletes. So I think overall, I think that everyone managed it really well and provided some great racing.
Yeah, and also it's always a special day for graduating athletes. This was probably the last race for a few athletes graduating, and it's always a special day, and kind of you always want to finish on a high note, but it doesn't always work like that. That's sport, but I think it's a special experience no matter how you. Yeah,
it's interesting. A lot of the athletes are now sort of culmination of the university season for these two programs, and some of the athletes will obviously continue to train and work towards national team. So U23, and as we mentioned, a few athletes will be involved with this Pan Am qualifier event that's coming up. So they're leaving for Chile on the 8th of April, so that's 1 week to get prepared.
Yeah.
Most of the crews have been training here in Victoria, and they'll be happy to be joined by their crew members that were rowing for UVic and UBC.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Lots of promising young athletes, and I'm sure they'll keep training and making boats go fast.
Well, Hillary, it was awesome to catch up with you, and
yeah.
great fun commentating, and look forward maybe next year.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Who knows? Thanks, Terry.
Okay.